Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this presentation. My name is Caitlin Dunn, and I am the very proud principal here at Merrick Avenue Middle School.
And I'm Carlo Conti, the very proud principal of Grand Avenue Middle School.
So we are excited to welcome you to your first middle school experience. Each year, this is an evening that we both look forward to hosting and welcoming our future middle school parents. Although this year looks a little bit different, it is essential that we take the time together to begin planning for your child's middle school experience. We certainly do not want to overwhelm you, but we are so appreciative of the partnership we have developed with our parents in creating the most enriching middle school offerings and experience for our students.
So right about now, you are sitting there on slide 2, hearing about middle school and possible enrichment opportunities and exciting opportunities. And if you were in front of me, I would see a bunch of very terrified faces. I would probably make a joke saying, raise your hand if you're nervous. And quite frankly, about 3/4 of you would raise your hand, and I would call the other 25% probably a bunch of liars, because I'm sure everybody's a little apprehensive right about now. It feels as though your child just started kindergarten and now they're in 6th grade, and I'm here and Ms. Dunn are here. We're talking about middle school, and that's still a half year, actually maybe even more, 3/4 of a year away. But the point is, we make a lot of plans and we want to make your middle school experience perfect. So we want to get a jump start on it, so we can make things just the way we want them for your middle schooler. We're really excited to present a lot of our curricular opportunities that we've made some changes to over the past few years. We now have expanded our options in mathematics. There were two distinct choices to make previously, and we've increased that to 3 because we felt as though a few kids were falling through the cracks kind of in the middle. So we now have 3 options that you'll hear about a little bit later. We redesigned our humanities program. For those of you that aren't sure what that really means, that's a fancy way of saying English and social studies for those of you that went to school like me, and we called it English and social studies. It's now humanities, and we actually put them together, and we teach these courses together in a way where our students will actually have them back to back in their schedule, so teachers can actually tie their curricular endeavors together. Very early on in the year, one of the lessons that stands out to me is the 9/11 lesson. One of my particular humanities blocks, actually a pretty big football player and a fun little English teacher who's my drama supervisor, get together and do a lesson. She brings in the lyrics to a Broadway show called Come From Away. And he brings in the story of the man with the red bandana, and they weave together a lesson about 9/11 that really hooks and engages the kids into the content, and it really catapults them and their interest into what they're learning. And that's the types of lessons you'll see in the new humanities program. We have some cutting edge enrichment opportunities that you'll hear about. In those enrichment opportunities, you'll hear about things about our reading and writing programs, our new family and consumer science programs, where we'll talk about some entrepreneurship kind of classes, as well as our traditional, it used to be home and careers, now we call it family and consumer science. You will also hear about some Tech 7 opportunities, where students can get a little computer applications experience if they need a little bit of a brush up on that, or for those that really have a different lens on technology, get a chance to do some coding, which is a really cool self-propelled kind of course that kids just absolutely love. We expanded our language program a few years back. We now have 4 options. We have Spanish, Italian, French, and Mandarin. Extensive opportunities in the arts. Of course, we have band, we have chorus, and we have orchestra. We have, of course, art as well. We, of course, more than anything, most of our programs and everything that we do, and the philosophy woven through pretty much every building, all 5 buildings in the district, is academic encouragement and partnership. We want to partner our teachers, our administrators, our kids, and our parents together. That's the only way we can truly make our kids successful, not just in middle school, but in high school and beyond that. I know that's even more terrifying.
So before we start talking about high school, besides Mr. Conti and I, some of the people that we're going to be directing you to speak with and to listen to this evening are going to be our chair people. So in our district, we have chair people who are responsible for different departments, and they have come up with some presentations that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, just how to get there. And with those, you'll hear about all of the items that the subject areas that Mr. Conti just touched on. So one of the most important factors in making the decision to offer these new experiences for students has been the idea to provide choice and exposure for students. So finding what students are passionate about. We find that students really, when they get into high school, they don't necessarily know exactly what they want to do for the rest of their lives. But if in middle school, we can give them an exposure to an area, a content, or a subject that they're interested in, the goal is to hopefully propel them to continue those interests when they're in high school. We know that one size does not fit all for our students, which is the reason why the middle school has incorporated so much more choice than what we used to offer. Additionally, we have rich high school offerings. So there are so many different choices that a student can make in high school. And what we're hoping to do is not only expose students to those opportunities here in middle school, but create the room in their schedules now so that they can take those options in the courses that they're really passionate about and interested in when they get to high school. Additionally, as Mr. Conti said, believing in children and believing that students can do these things and can push themselves is what we focus on most in middle school, building students' confidence, not only in humanities and in in science and in math, but also in those extra, in those encore classes that students really feel connected with.
So we talk about growth mindset. You probably heard that buzz phrase out in the community or in TV and such. And, what does it really mean? Well, going back about 5 years ago, we had our two traditional options for science. We had Science 7R and Science 7-8A. And if you're in Science 7-8A, you go to Earth Science. But we're making this choice and we're trying to figure out where our kids belong basically in December of grade 6. And quite frankly, I'd love to say that we're excellent at what we do and I have my crystal ball and you as a parent have yours and we collectively put those crystal balls together and figure out the perfect selection for kids. And sometimes, quite frankly, we screw it up. And we had some students in our 7R program that were knocking it out of the park. They were getting hundreds and 95s, 96s consistently all year long. And it was almost like a shame not to let them try Earth Science. But traditionally, we didn't have a mechanism because they didn't get all the content that they needed in grade 7 to actually take the 8th grade course, the Earth Science course. So we kind of rolled the dice. We sat down with the teachers and we actually came up with a small summer program, a little enrichment program that we still offer today. And we identified 28 students in that particular year that were doing really, really well, that wanted to take a shot at doing this little summer work and jump into Earth Science in 8th grade. So we said, all right, let's see how this goes. And of course, everybody, got the best of intentions, but also nervous at the same time. So we're watching this and it's unfolding and they did their summer work. And I have to tell you, the kids blew me away. In that particular year, we had 196 students taking Earth Science. 28 students jumped from 7R to Earth Science over the summer. I'm happy to tell you that in that very first year, in the Regents examination, we had 100% passing. we had a 96.9% mastery rate. A mastery rate means kids achieved a score of 85 or above on that Regents exam. And that's kids that didn't take the previous course. They just did a little jump, that 28 kids. We actually had, out of the 28 students that jumped, 27 of them achieved a mastery rate of over 85. The one student that just missed the mark, truly just missed the mark by one question and got an 83 on their Regents exam for Earth Science. So what does this tell us? What does it teach us? Basically, if kids and families truly commit themselves and they're excelling, we're going to create an opportunity. We're going to figure it out. We're going to make changes so those students have an opportunity that maybe we otherwise never would have realized. And in years past, would have told you, no, you can't make that jump. This is not the old Belmore Merritt. We have reinvented our middle schools and high schools to try to create as many opportunities as possible. And this was one of the catalysts for doing so. Giving these 28 kids the shot really opened up our eyes to make a whole host of other changes in the middle school. Just last year, I know in both middle schools, we have moved our Earth Science enrollment better than 60%, in some cases 70% of our students. Now that sounds crazy that we have that many kids in the advanced courses, but I believe that, Ms. Dunn mentioned a little bit earlier, the advantage of taking, an Earth Science course or an algebra course in middle school and getting one of those out of the way sounds crazy, but is going to open up some spots in your high school student schedule for them to take things that they may be truly passionate about. Maybe your child is an art kid and really wants to do some AP art class and take every class in high school that they have to offer in art. By taking one or two of these in the middle school, that's going to free up that many more slots in their schedule in high school. And that's so, so incredible. In math, we now have, I mentioned a little bit earlier, 3 different opportunities. The traditional 8R class that 7R class that we traditionally offer, and then the 7-8A class that we generally would offer. And we actually kind of wove in a third option in the middle, where we every other day offer kids an opportunity to take math for a period and a half, because we know those kids may want to challenge themselves and take an algebra Regents in 8th grade, but maybe just were a little nervous, or their skills were pretty close to that, but they really wanted the extra time with a teacher to shore up those skills, to make sure that they're ready to take that algebra on in 8th grade. So we now have a class where every other day they can take math for for 2 periods. So one day they have it 1 period, the next day they have it 2. So in essence, through their course in middle school, they actually get 3 years worth of math classes kind of in 2, because they get every other day they'll get 2 classes. So in that particular year, we had 250, our first year doing this, we had 255 students that took the algebra Regents, and we had a 99.6 passing with a 78% mastery rate. Now that's, of course, sounds a little bit less than, of course, the Earth Science numbers, but if anybody looks at the math numbers, that is pretty strong. Our Algebra 1A, our accelerated kids, if you click on that next one, our Algebra 1A kids, we had 100% passing with a 79% mastery. And those students that took the extended course, those students were 99.2% passing with a 76% mastery rate. Again, these are incredible, incredible numbers for kids that really just put themselves out there and took a shot. The bottom line that year, out of 255 students that took the Regents exam, 254 of them passed it, and 200 of them achieved the score of over an 85. These are incredible, incredible numbers. This is a great community that you live in.
So thank you very much, Mr. Conti, because I think those numbers are really important for parents. But I think a lot of us are asking the question, so what is the purpose of the meeting today? So the purpose is really to let our families know about the different opportunities that they have as their children start entering the Bellmore Merrick Central High School District. So whether your child's entering Grand Avenue Middle School or whether they're entering Merrick Avenue Middle School, we offer a robust curriculum, but there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. Now, in previous years, Mr. Conti and I would contact the elementary schools and we would get all this information from the elementary school teachers, which we, certainly have developed those relationships and absolutely love speaking to them, but they're not the only partners that are involved in this. Nobody knows your child better than you do. So it was really important that we make sure we give the parents an opportunity to weigh in and play a role in the decision making for their child and the pathway that they're going to continue on throughout high school. So what we are going to ask today is that you do take a look at some of the information. I know that might have seemed pretty overwhelming in getting all of that data and information, but we need your input. We need your help in making the best decision for your child that we possibly can. So we will continue those conversations, and Mr. Conti is going to speak a little bit about the communication and the process that goes forward now from this point, from this meeting, and what needs to take place going forward.
So in order for you to have actually accessed this presentation, you should have received a letter or an email letting you know how to do so. And you decided to block out 27 hours. I mean, just kidding. A good amount of time to go through these. And of course, you don't have to do it all in one night. But some time to look through some videos, watch this and a few others before you made some decisions as a family. We meet and continue to meet with the principals of the elementary schools, all 4 elementary districts with myself and Ms. Dunn, in order to continue this dialogue to make sure that we're making the best choices for kids. Like Ms. Dunn said, it's not just the teachers in elementary school, the teachers here or the administrators in both, but weaving in the students themselves and the parents before we make the proper decisions on what your students will be taking. Obviously, you're sitting here, and if you're listening to this, you're watching the presentation. At the end of this, Ms. Dunn and I are going to direct you to a parent input form where you'll actually just click through a few questions, a little bit of a survey type input form. That's going to ask your student's school, the teacher that they have, and then ask you a bunch of questions about their interests and where you see their abilities and choices that you believe as a family you think your child should be taking when they get here in the middle school. After we get that input, we're actually going to print it out. We're going to sort it by teacher and by school, and either Ms. Dunn, myself, or one of our assistant principals will actually get to every single elementary school. This year, it might be done by Zoom, which I can't believe I have to say that. Generally, we go there in person and sit face-to-face, but we will still, whether it's Zoom or face-to-face, we will speak to every 6th grade teacher about every 6th grade student. We are going to take the input that you give us on that form. We're going to talk to the teacher about what your wishes are and how they see your child as a student as well. In most cases, that's going to match up identically, and there's going to be very little conversation to be had after that. If for some reason there's a little bit of a discrepancy between what you may see your child as and what your teacher may see your child as, we may reach back out to you, or your child's 6th grade teacher may reach back out to you and have a follow-up conversation, because that dialogue is invaluable, so we truly make the best decision. After that's all hashed out, we then have this arduous task of putting it into our computer systems and the data entry that goes along with that, in trying to make schedules for about 900 students in each of our buildings. And in order to make sure that that data gets entered correctly, we will then send to every home a course selection sheet. So you'll be able to read through to make one last check in the spring Yes, that's what I selected. Yes, that's what I spoke to my child's teacher about. And these are the courses that I want my child to take in seventh grade. It's super, super important that you take a look at those course selection sheets in the spring and make sure they're accurate, because we do actually make some budgetary decisions and staffing decisions on those to make sure that we have the right people in the right places to make sure that your kids have exactly what they need. So what do we do next? You've heard us talk about 10 times by now about these videos and presentations about different curricular options. And in a minute, we're going to change the screen that you're watching right now over to our district website. And we're going to show you where you can locate. Before you go to the parent input form, you really, really, really have to do this homework. You have to sit through and watch the videos. So if you go to our Belmore Merrick Central High School District website and click on the curriculum tab, you can see it across the top. If you click on curriculum tab, you'll see Einstein. You're going to scroll just past Einstein, a little further down, and you're going to see a title that says 7th grade course presentations. You'll see different links, one to math, one to science, art and music, our humanities program, world languages, and then technology, family and consumer science. Click through. Again, you do not have to do this in one night. It's not a binge watch of something on Netflix. You could simply watch one or two, digest it, come back, and watch a few others. You'll see different presentations like Ms. Dunn is clicking through right now. This is the one in math. There's some voiceovers by the math chair people to explain exactly what all of this means, because right now you're probably looking at this panicking saying there's a whole lot of words. I'm not sure what she's saying. So the math chair people got together and did that. After you watch all of those videos, you're going to then go back to the page right behind that one, the website. And underneath where those links were, you're going to see the online survey. We'll come back to that a little bit later. That's the input form that we talked about a little bit earlier. But it is imperative that you watch those videos before you go to the survey selections. So we're going to make believe right now. We're going to do our little time travel deal. This is the magic of television. You watched all of those videos. We are now returning after you've done that homework. And we're going to talk about how we actually schedule students. So it makes a little bit more sense to you when you go through that course selection sheet. So before you go to the actual input form, this is what a 9-period day looks like. Students in middle school go through 9 separate, distinct periods of instruction. It's a long list of things. So if you look at what we have up on the screen, option one basically is for a student that seems to be a little bit intrinsically motivated in mathematics, wants to take on the challenge of taking algebra in 8th grade. They seem to excel at it. This is the kid that does their homework probably without necessarily being told to do so most of the time, but kind of has an affinity for math and such, and they want to take that 1 period of math option. So they'll be doing the 7-8A class. You'll see that highlighted in green in the 6th period slot. This is not the actual period selection. It's just a randomized version of it. But in 6th period, this student would be taking a 1 period selection of mathematics. So to go through the whole schedule, you'll see that light blue or teal color for English and social studies. Those are our humanities options. And guess what? There is no option. Every kid gets English and social studies. They will be linked together somewhere in the kid's schedule. So it's great. As far as your panic of what to choose, no panic for English and social studies. The first choice that you'll see here is Science 7 or Science 7-8A. Again, as we said, if you choose Science 7 versus Science 7-8A, but your kid is knocking it out of the park, we're going to give them the option to jump into the accelerated program by doing a little bit of work, and they can still take our Science and 8. Conversely, if your student chooses 7-8A and they're really struggling, at some point we'll have a conversation with you and we'll decide collaboratively if maybe that's not going to work. The 4 choices of world language would come next. One of your language choices would go in there, whatever you choose. Yes, period 5, we let every kid eat. It's one of those things they just seem to need to do. I like to eat as well. Period 6 is that math option that we chose. This is option 1. So 7-8A would go there. When you choose that, in period 7, you'll see that side by side, you'll see art and music in that 7th period line, because if you're taking 1 period of math, you get to have art and music in your schedule. In period 8, you would have phys ed and health. Now, again, these are not in every kid doesn't get this in the same order, but in period 8, we have phys ed and health. And last but not least, those literacy options that you did watch in those videos, I know you did because you didn't skip your homework. The literacy option choice would be in there. That would be your reading, writing choice that you would select. And since it's every other day, that would go with your family consumer science selection or your tech selection. Now, your family consumer science and tech options are only half-year courses. So I know this is getting confusing, but let's say one day you have your reading class. The next day you might have family consumer science for the first half of the year. And then the second half of the year, you would have your reading and writing class, and then you would have your tech class. So they would alternate because those are half-year courses.
All right. So to continue with the options that Mr. Conti started. So the first option and schedule that he showed you was for a student who was taking a regular 1-period advanced math class. You can see one of the differences in this particular schedule is that the math class that was chosen was the extended math, which means that you have a period and a half of math every other day. So you would have 6th period and 7th period math back to back, let's say on odd days, and on even days you would take your regular math class and then you would have art or music. It's really important to note that with this particular choice in the schedule, when you do choose math extended for your child on that form, you would have to make an option and make a choice between art or music. So again, you see that everything else stays the same. The humanities 1st and 2nd period, those stay together. Like Mr. Conti said, there is no choice for those. Science is a 1-period class, so they'll make that choice. And lunch can be scheduled. We offer periods 5, 6, or 7, but like Mr. Conti said, every single one of our students will have lunch here in middle school. So the third option for scheduling looks like this. You'll notice we go back and we have Math 7. So if you choose Math 7 is the most appropriate placement for your child for math, you'll notice that after that, you'll also have art and music scheduled already. So you'll make your choice for music, whether your child should be in band, in chorus, in intro to music, and you will be scheduled for a regular art class. Now, these options for these schedules shows just a typical schedule here at the middle school. Please know that if your child has an IEP or receives any other additional support services, those are things that would be done individually and would be conversations that happen at your child's annual CSE meeting. So those supports and what would be placed in the schedule would be discussed there. Mr. Conti, please feel free to finish up, sir.
So here we are. We actually find ourselves at the conclusion of our presentation this evening about our curricular opportunities and some assistance for you making your 7th grade course selections. Please note that we are always still available. This presentation plus all of those other presentations will remain up on our district website probably all year. We will, however, ask you to make those selections probably by mid-December, or the latter part of December. We will give you a specific date in the letter that we provide so for you to get that survey in. And know that you can call our guidance offices in either building to ask further questions about what these options really mean, or if you really have further questions. Please know we are here for you. You'll hear us say that over and over and over again. but we truly mean it. Our door is open. Our guidance team, we both have 4 counselors in each building that know this stuff inside and out as well. And they're excellent, excellent resources in helping you make some decisions and giving you the important information necessary for you to make that selection as a family as to what you see your child accelerating in. So if we click onto that Belmo Merrick link and go back to where we were before at the website, this is our website again. We're going to click on curriculum. We're going to scroll past Einstein. We'll go past those links to all of those videos from the curricular areas. And then the online survey is the most important. And once you click on the online survey, it's going to just bring you through a simple series of questions. You can go back and forth in most of them. Look how nice we play in the sandbox. We have both of our logos on there, both middle schools. We're not competitive at all.
You see that we chose Merrick Avenue.
So you'll see, you click the middle school that your child will be going to, the elementary school that they're currently in, and you're going to keep scrolling down. Once you click next, based on the school that you chose, teacher names will come up. Then it'll be a place for you to put your child's name in, and a few other selections. It doesn't let you go forward if you don't put something in. First thing up that it's going to ask you to do is your language selection. You'll see the French, Italian, Chinese, Mandarin, and Spanish. The next choice you'll see is your accelerated science or your Science 7R. And again, there's descriptors on there. And if you panic, you can always pause and go watch the videos again to see what you think. Our next would be those 3 math options. You'll see that the accelerated choice is there, the extended choice is there, and your Math 7. Just remember, if you choose the extended math, that dictates that you have art or music. The other 2 choices is art and music. Once we get through that, we then start seeing some of our enrichment opportunities. We have Tech 7 that goes along with Consumer Science 7. And then the other option that you have is the Creative Coding class that ties together with our Virtual Entrepreneurship class. And again, you watch the video, so you know exactly what that means. Our reading and writing options come up next. Creative writing, that's for those students that seem to excel in their creative abilities in their writing. Generally, they're above grade level in their reading abilities, which would then propel them to have that opportunity to take a creative writing course or a RISE course. RISE, please know, RISE kind of goes more in the idea of a little bit more research type writing. So you'll do a little bit more research work, but please know that the way we schedule our students, because both of those areas of writing are so important for those accelerated students, that if you take creative in grade 7, you'll end up in RISE in grade 8. If you take RISE in grade 7, you'll end up in creative writing in grade 8. That way students get very well prepared before they hit high school.
And for,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Conti. So, and for students who are reading at grade level or possibly below grade level at this point in time, there are other options. So the other option is a class called Reading Lab, which is a class that's a lot smaller in sections, and it gives students an opportunity to really focus on expanding their reading abilities. They do a lot of work on fluency, and so they'll work directly with a reading teacher. And then the other courses are Explorations Through Literacy course, which allows students to work with a program called Achieve 3000. And again, it really focuses on getting our students to be reading at or above grade level. Please know that we certainly appreciate and we want to take your choice into account for this, but part of the options for this is it is going to be an enrichment or it is going to be a support. So we do also work in conjunction with the 6th grade teachers in making the best decisions for these courses and taking a look at students' Lexiles and some reading levels for these. And lastly, the last part of this particular form allows parents to submit any additional questions that they might have. As Mr. Conti stated, you can call our buildings, you can get in touch with us directly. We are happy to help and assist you with this process, but we are constantly looking at this form and the questions that are submitted. So if you have any additional questions, if you think there's a special circumstance that requires us to reach out, by all means, you can put any of that information entered right in here and submit your form. Mr. Conti?
That absolutely takes us to the end of this presentation. Again, on behalf of the entire Belmore Merrick Central High School community, we want to welcome you to our district. We truly, truly love our kids. It doesn't matter where we go, what building we go to. Our kids come first and foremost. That comes from our heart. Please, if you have any questions, any concerns, please reach out to our guidance departments for further clarification. Until we meet in person, hopefully soon, have a great day.
Thank you.